This is my 1995 Toyota Hiace. It has the 1KZ TE engine, which is legendary for being in all sorts of Japanese Toyota vehicles, including the Hiluxes and others. I just picked this van up, and I'm going to do some maintenance on it because unfortunately the alternator has just gone out. I will be doing some easy maintenance stuff like the air filter and map sensor, and I will also be removing the AC compressor to get access to the alternator so I can replace that and have it rebuilt. This van has a lot of cool features, some rear seats that turn around. The seats are in pretty good shape for what it is. It's got 3 sunroofs, which is pretty cool, and they all work surprisingly. It comes with a factory flare, which I thought was super interesting. It's all in Japanese, so obviously I have zero clue what any of it means. It also came with most, if not all, of the factory manuals, which I thought was super cool. Again, can't read a single letter in this, but hopefully pictures speak 1,000 words. A little maintenance note with nothing written in it. And another manual for something that I have no idea what it goes to. Let's just put those back in and close the glove box up. Something else to note, lots of little stickers. Here's the driver's seat, obviously on the right side. And let's open up this rear door again to look at the parts I got. So starting off, I picked up some Rotella T615W40. I've heard good things about this engine oil. Also, this swap-in air filter for the van. It's not a factory one, but through research I have found that this is a compatible one that all you have to do is drill a hole of 3/8 diameter right there in the center so you can mount it up in the factory location. There's the map sensor. Here we got the fuel filter. Just figured that's one of those maintenance items to replace while you're in there. Got an engine filter. Most of these parts are from Southeast Hiace Southeast, however you want to say it. Just opening up the engine compartment here so we can get started on the work. I've gone ahead and removed the batteries after they were completely drained trying to drive this van back home. I had them taken to an auto parts store so they could recharge them and test them to make sure they were still good, which they were. And that's why I'm going to be taking the alternator out. The first step here is to remove the driver's seat with 4 bolts, 2 on the front, 2 on the back, just to be able to gain access to the plate that covers up the alternator area. Now I'm just unplugging some wires to make sure everything is clear, and then after that's done, I am going to go ahead and pull the seat out and store it in the back of the van until I'm ready to put it back in when the repair is done. just a little afterthought here. I don't think removing this e-brake was even necessary. I just kind of went into this thinking I would have to, so I just took the 2 bolts off to remove it, and I don't think I even had to. Now it's time to remove this AC compressor. I might call it the power steering pump a few times throughout this video. I'm not sure why I thought it was that, but I guess I get confused. There's 2 bolts on the top and 2 on the bottom. I ended up just unplugging a few of the connections. You don't have to remove the lines to the compressor. All you have to do is remove the 4 bolts and kind of drag it out of the way a little bit. The first thing I need to do is release tension on this belt. It's a 14mm socket. Get this out. It's very important to keep your bolts organized. I like to put them in Ziplocs with Sharpie labels, just so that I know for certain which bolts go where, because that would suck to forget where they go. Alright. This belt looks pretty worn out, so probably would be good to replace them. Good gracious. It seems like somehow these bolts get tighter over time. Ugh. I'm rocking the whole van. Alright. I spent probably 20 minutes trying to figure out which direction to turn the tensioner to release tension on the belts for the alternator, and it turns out you just have to loosen it, which seems obvious, but I was way overthinking it. I tried shoving my phone camera down there with the flashlight to see the track of the tensioner, and yeah, you just have to loosen it, and as you loosen it, if you pull up on the belts, that pulls the alternator out a little bit and pushes the tensioner screw in. It's hard to explain, but when the tensioner screw is pushed in, it's easier to unscrew. So if you just kind of grab the belts up, pull up a little bit, that'll make sure you have consistent ability to unscrew the tensioner screw. Alright, here's the first belt. Try the same tactic to the other one. Just put it over the fan, and then pull her on out. Same strap. Alright. There she is. Honestly, this wasn't even that difficult. I mean, sure, it's a little bit of bad positioning, but I've definitely dealt with worse. I mean, try taking the exhaust manifold off of a 1.8T Volkswagen Jetta, and then tell me how hard this job is. I'm glad I came into this thinking it was going to suck, because I had my expectations up for a battle, and it hasn't been that bad. Going once, going twice, sold. Here is a cooked alternator. So, after I got it out, I was kind of checking it out just to see what's up, and you'll notice it's got a pretty good crack right here in the side of it. Now, I'm not sure if that would cause this thing to stop charging the batteries, but it's definitely possible. This is definitely a little hard to spin. Not sure if that's normal or not, but that's a pretty serious crack. I mean, it goes through a couple of these little supports. The screw might have been tightened a little too tight, and over time it just cracked the aluminum. I think that's what this is made out of. Got the harness off, so the alternator should be ready to get rebuilt. Next up, I am replacing this map sensor, I believe is what it's called. Not sure why I'm replacing it, but I just saw it on the website when I was ordering the other parts, the fuel filter and the oil filter. So I thought, you know, might as well just replace it while I'm in here. Looks like a pretty easy swap. So might not even need any tools for this one. Top hose. Get this guy out of there. Bottom hose. That's that. Make sure to put it in the same orientation. It's the same brand too, which is nice. Bottom hose. Get this guy back down in there. If I can manage. Wow. And that's that. Wow. Honestly, could not get any easier than that. Now, I'm going to replace the air filter. So we'll start over here on the driver's side, the right-hand side. Behind the front wheel, removing this wing nut. Got a second wing nut up here. Not sure how well you can see. Hopefully you can. Take this guy off. And there it is. Quick and simple. Definitely has seen better days. Looks a little dirty. On the left, we have the old filter and the new one on the right. Definitely see the color difference. Only other difference is, unfortunately, the new one doesn't have a hole, which means we have to drill one. Not a huge deal. Just trying to read this. 115,000 kilometers. This was changed in 2010. Good thing we're putting a new one in. That was a little bit of a jolt. Just going to clean this up a little bit, make sure there's no shavings in there. Got one that's being a little difficult. There it is. Should be good. Just make sure there's no shavings. Now we're going to need to make a little spacer before we reinstall this. It's going to go right here. I've got a couple washers here that are the right size. One right there, one on top, and then that is a good diameter for this wing nut to go right on top. Take the new filter, get it up on there, grab my washers, I might end up just going with this one so I have enough threads. That will work. Alright. Get it centered. And that's tight. Did not end up needing to use this big washer. If I used it, I wouldn't have had enough thread to grab onto. But that is on there now. Now, got to maneuver this guy back on there. It is an oval shape. I believe this is the way it came off. Yeah, you can tell by this groove right here. It has this groove up there. So now, a little bit easier to get back on than it was to take off. Let's just line that up. Alright, that is tight, and that is not going anywhere. So that's the air filter, done and replaced.